Welcome to my sewing studio. My name is Linda Bratten. I am the creative force behind Linda Bratten Creations, and I'm also a national educator with Baby Lock. And what that means is I get to share my love of all Baby Lock machines, accessories, and products with you, in addition to what I love to do in my studio. So welcome, creatives, and I'm so excited that we got to be together today. So what I'm going to share with you today is template, or some people refer to them as rulers, and using those to assist you as you free motion quilt your quilts on your standard sewing machine, your domestic or your tabletop machine is what I'm referring to. Now, templates or rulers, what do you call them? Technically, if you're using these acrylic templates on a long arm, they're called rulers. And if you use them on your standard sewing machine, they're called templates. Think of like quilting templates because they make quilting motifs easy to do. And I'm going to share a secret with you. It is much easier to do template quilting than it is to do free motion quilting because you have perimeters or guidelines that help you be successful. And I'm so excited because we are starting a brand new, and I call it pushing the rulers because I like to hang out with quilters who push the rules, class coming up in January. Now, Rooster Creek Quilting or Rooster Creek Company, if you see them on Facebook, they are the ones that are going to be hosting this virtual class. And the neat thing about it is this class features my own personal template set that I designed. So let me take you to the template and show you what I like about them and a little bit about template quilting for those of you that aren't familiar with it. Now, these are my rulers, and what I'm so excited about is there are 3 of them. Now, they look really similar, but what you're going to notice is that we have an 8, a 10, and a 12-inch scallop and crosshatch ruler. And in this class, this virtual class, my Pushing the Ruler class, we use all 3 of these. And if you are interested in the rulers, but not the class, you can reach out to Rooster Creek Quilting in New Bloomfield, Missouri, and they will get you a set. Now, in order to do quilting with a template, it does require that you get a special presser foot. And these are just some of the styles available. Now, one of the things you're going to have to know about your machine, is it a short shank machine or is it a high or mid shank? And that will make a difference as to what presser foot you buy. Now, I'm just going to say, once upon a time, there were plastic feet made, and some still try to sell you a plastic foot. But because you have to run your ruler up against this presser foot, it takes a lot of pressure, and these have a tendency to break. So save your money and just invest on a good quality presser foot. Now, some machines and some brands will actually make adjustable ones. These are adjustable just by using the presser foot screw on your machine and sliding it up and down. Now, this one in particular is one that Baby Lock makes, and I don't know if you can see this, but it actually has a opening so that the thread can easily go into the presser foot. I just love that feature. That saves me a lot of time. This is the short shank done by Wesley, and you're going to notice that there is a little divot here for visibility. That's the other bonus of the Baby Lock one, is there's tons of visibility where my needle hits. But the main thing that makes this different from an actual free motion quilting foot is the thickness here. You have this added thickness so that ruler can just go right up against it, and you'll have more control with your stitches. Now, when you get your rulers, you're going to need to put some stable tape or some grip tape on the back of them. And I haven't done it yet with my 12-inch ruler, but I'm going to share with you what I do. Now, when it comes to putting the grip tape or the stable tape on the back of the ruler, I always make sure that I can read the information. So I notice I can read scallop and crosshatch, and I'm going to put my tape on the other side of the ruler. And I usually put it wherever there's a word, because chances are the manufacturer knew that wherever a word is going to be, it's going to be the least likely to interfere with visibility. Now, all of these etched lines are done to assist you when it comes to using these rulers. one of the reasons I absolutely love quilting with rulers on my standard sewing machine is it gives me, uh, like I said, it makes me a better quilter in the fact that I can get super straight lines, which are hard without a walking foot. So I can go from free motion to getting straight lines just using this presser foot. I can also be creative in with my accuracy. I just love this because these etched lines are actually guidelines that help us to position the rulers to be the most effective. Now, something you need to know about these presser feet is, in general, most presser feet are going to be a ½ inch from the outside edge to the outside edge of our presser foot, and that's a very important measurement to know. The other thing is that is only true if your needle is center justified. If the needle on your sewing machine is center justified, then wherever that needle inserts, it's going to be a ¼ inch measurement on all sides, front, back, left, and right of this presser foot. And that helps us when it comes to retracing stitches, when it comes to meeting a tick mark that we might have drawn. Now you are going to need, or you will use, some sort of spacing gauge or measuring tool. This is one that Wesley makes. They're the ones who are known to create a lot of these presser feet and a lot of templates that you might use on your standard sewing machine. And they make a clear one and they make a colored one. All right. I have found that the clear one is very easy to lose on my workspace because it's, of course, clear. So I have added some embellishment and a big tie. Now, this just helps me to locate it when I need it. Some other products that I really like to use is, this is the Ultimate Marking Tool. It is a wax-like marking tool that marks on your fabric. It can be sharpened. What I like about the Ultimate Marking Tool, I'm holding it up, you can't see it. This is made by Full Line Stencil, and you can pick one up at fulllinestencil.com. A lot of quilt stores carry it because you can create a white line on your quilt and then it irons off. Now, Full Line Stencil also makes a pounce that you can fill with white powder. Now, this happens to be a clover chocolate line, and I love these also because they give you a nice smooth line. I don't know if you can see it, I just drew one on my hand here. But this smooth line is very fine. The thing I don't like about it is if I'm using chalk, chalk happens to make my fabric slick. And when we're using templates, we actually hope the template grips the fabric and moves the fabric around our presser foot. But the chalk has a tendency to make that fabric slick, and as I'm quilting, it does rub off. What I've done here, you're going to notice this is a gray chocolate liner. I have filled it with the Full Line Stencil Iron Away White Pounce product. And what this enables me to do then is easily remove my chalk lines once I'm finished doing them. Now, another product that I like to use is the Papermate Handwriting #2 pencil. It actually makes, I think, a 1.3 line, but it's got that #2 lead. It's extra thick, so think elementary school. It's the pencil itself is extra thick, but that soft #2 lead enables me to use stitching line discs, which are a ½ inch across, and they allow me to insert my pencil and practice my stitching lines so I can actually draw diagrams of how I want my quilting to be done and test out my patterns that I have before I ever take it to fabric and thread. So these are just some things that I absolutely like. Now, that being said, in addition to knowing, do you have a short shank or a high shank machine, you need to know that not only to order your presser foot, but you also need to know this information when it comes to getting a ruler. Now you're going to see this one, this ruler here is designed for a short shank machine. It is much thinner. And it's very important that you have a thin ruler when you have a short shank machine. This one on this hand here that I'm shaking is a high shank machine. You can see the thickness difference. And the reason being, you need to know this. If you have a short shank machine, let's see if I can hold this, and you are quilting, oh, it'll be like this. If you are quilting on the edge behind it, you're not going to have much room for this ruler to fit behind your presser foot if you've got a quilt sandwich underneath the ruler foot. This just gets real tight in here. The other thing that you can do is just I want to share with you here. So this is the high shank rulers. This is actually a long arm ruler, and they are even thicker yet because the long arm is a hopping foot, and so it has to be super thick. You need to get the right thickness so that your ruler or your template does not slip underneath your presser foot, so that your needle would actually hit the acrylic template and break. All right, so let's go over to the machine and show you how I'm going to set up my Solaris. Now, I do notice you're going to notice here that it automatically defaults. I have mine set up on the utility side. It automatically defaults with a center justified using my J foot. However, I'm going to activate and I'm going to use my mouse. I hope you can see the mouse here. I'm going to go up to my tool selection and I'm going to click on this button. It is my free motion quilting button. And I hope you noticed that all of a sudden it's telling me to put my O foot on, a free motion quilting foot. Now, when I activate this tool in the toolbar, what it does is it automatically lowers my presser feet, or my feed dogs, excuse me. It automatically lowers my feed dogs, but it lessens the presser foot pressure. It gives me a little bit of release. Now I am going to switch and share my screen here so you can see my setup. The bed of my machine, I have a gridded glider. What this does is this helps anywhere that my machine might connect to an extension table or any bumps or crevices the machine has. You want to put on some sort of a Teflon or gridded glider surface. What this does is this enables you to push the fabric with your ruler. But you can see how it helps you slide your fabric, your quilt sandwich easily. If you don't have a gridded glider on your table, on your workspace, what can happen is you can hit one of those connecting features and you will quilt a zigzag. Ask me how I know. Now, the thing I like best about using templates to quilt is you can do it with minimal marking. And I don't know if you can see here, but I've just taken, I've actually used a friction pen here and just made little tick marks. What this is going to do is give me some guide points or some areas to shoot for when it comes to quilting. Now, I have attached my presser foot, and when you have this onto your machine, you do want to test. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of a test over here. And I want to make sure I have a slightly drawn line here. But when you engage some machines, you'll notice if you watch my presser foot, it actually lowers the minute I start touching my foot control. All right. And what that can do is that can actually put too much pressure on. I'm going to lift this up here. I think I did take a few stitches, but we can put too much pressure on your quilt sandwich if you don't realize that when you're adjusting your foot control. Now, I do want to make some suggestions. You want to have this as close to the quilt sandwich as possible so that your rulers don't slide underneath. Okay. They say if it floats about a dime, you're going to have it about right. If you notice that the fabric ahead of it is buckling, I call it snow plowing, you have it too low. But if it's too high, you're going to start snapping threads. That's called flagging. So to find the right height is a little bit of a guessing game, and I may adjust as I go. But you do want to make sure that you tighten it. And those of you that have a Baby Lock product know that we do have these 3-in-1 screwdriver. They're called 3-in-1 pieces because you can adjust your screwdriver straight vertical, you can go horizontal with it, or you can take it over to the third, and that helps you tighten your embroidery hoops if you didn't know that. But this is a quick and easy one. It's also small enough that I can fit it in here, and with the arthritis that I have in my hand, it doesn't bother it so bad. All right, so one of the things that you can actually do with your templates when you're quilting is do stitch in the ditch. Now, when I start this, I want to make sure that I pull my bobbin thread. And I don't know if you can see that. All I did was when I lowered my presser foot, I inserted my needle into the quilt sandwich and brought it back up. If you have a short shank machine, you do not want to use your needle up, needle down, because you run the tendency of hitting this needle bar into the top of this foot. Remember, we said the sides are built up. Then I would just take my hand wheel and turn it. Unfortunately, I am clear over to the left side of my machine so that I can have the camera set up and you can see what I'm doing. So I have to use my needle up, needle down. The other thing I don't want to do is I don't want to use the automatic cutting system. I want these threads to be left fairly long so that I can either rethread them back in with the self-threading needle or trim them when I'm done. Now I do like to do some small anchoring stitches before I get started, and that can be as simple as using my reinforcement button here or just stitching in place a few times before I take off. Now, if I'm doing stitching in the ditch, and I don't know if you can see this, there's a slight line here. What I like to do is insert my needle in between the seams that I want to stitch in the ditch with, and then line this out. And if I use my seam gauge, I'm going to make sure that that seam gauge is 1/4 of an inch away from the seam, or my ruler sits 1/4 of an inch away from the seam allowance. What that's going to help me do is stitch in the ditch straight. Now, if my seams aren't straight, I can't hold the ruler accountable or the template accountable. There we are. We want this to be able to move, and all I'm doing is giving it power, and then always know that you quilt between your finger and your thumb. So you have to readjust or relocate your ruler. Once again, I would measure, oops, 1/4 of an inch, not an eighth, but a quarter here. Just realign where it needs to go. And then when I'm done, I will anchor it a few times. And then I will lift my needle, lift my presser foot. I'm going to pull my unit away, and that's just lengthening the bobbin thread on the back side. And then I'm going to pull it right back to where I exited and tried to enter it, the needle in that same location, and then lift it up. Now you're going to notice my bobbin thread is coming up in a loop, and I'm looking for the one that pulls easily. That is my bobbin that's the thread that's coming off. If it's tight, it's on the quilt. And I'm going to cut the loose one, and then I'm going to cut the top thread that is closest to the needle. And you'll notice today I am using 2 different colors. What this did is this pulled all of my threads to the top of my work. And by pulling the bobbin thread up when I started and when I finished, you're going to notice on the back side, I've got a nice clean finish of quilting here. I think that's real important, especially if you're going to be doing any kind of quilting to get started. Now, I want to do a little bit of well, let's do some fun quilting here. Let's start with some of my tick marks. And so I'm going to insert and pull it. Here we go. And an easy way to, if I lift this up, an easy way is to grab that top thread here. Why it's so tight today. But just run it underneath the presser foot. That helps you floss it and pull that bobbin to the top, getting it all the way out. And then I'm going to lower my presser foot. Once again, I don't know if I mentioned it, I am working kind of on an angle. Now you do want your fabric to be larger than the area you're quilting. That's going to make it easier to use your rulers, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start, I believe, I want to do an arc. Arcs are fun and they take a little bit of practice, but once you see it, I just did a straight line for you here, but you can see me use the arcs. I think you're gonna just be amazed by what all you can accomplish. Now, I don't know if you can, oh, let me just show you here and I'll have to come back to where I am. I am measuring here, so I lay my template away, a 1/4 of an inch away from the other tick mark that I'm going to be sewing towards. And I have my needle inside the presser foot, and we're just going to go ahead and quilt. Now, when you're doing a curve or a ruler that has a curve, the best advice I can give you is watch the edge of the presser foot and the edge of the template. Trust your placement. And we're just going to go ahead and stitch on down. Pause here and just see if I can get that away from the presser foot so you can see it a little better. But I'm going to just stitch all the way down to the other tick mark. I hope I'm there. Okay, because I'm not looking at it head on. Let me see if I can turn it this way so that you get a little better visual. And now we're going to, once again, just measure so that we can see where we're headed here. I want to make sure I hit this one. And as you work with templates, you're going to get so much better with your stitch length, but you can just see this is such a fun way to get your quilting done. And I thought, you know, some of you might be working with a deadline when it comes to getting your work quilted. And this happens to be a 5-inch border that I'm quilting right now. This would be a 5-inch border design. Just oh so fun here. Let's see. Take it this way. It's hard because I really cannot see where I'm headed. We're just going to trust that I did the measuring right. And now we're going to bring it. Let's see if we can just bring it back over. And of course, you can do all kinds of really great things. That's what this class shows you, is a variety of block quilting and border quilting motifs. Okay, let me see here if I can just get it around. And take it right down here. Now, I'm going to cheat a little bit, because if this was a true border, all I'd have to do is take it straight across, right? So we're just going to go ahead and straight up. Let's see if we can just come back and go the opposite way and show you what this would look like if this was an actual motif you might choose to finish a border. I believe I call this gemstones, because you get diamonds and scallops, which is such fun. Now, I will tell you this, if you are working on a short shank machine and you happen to get, even here with my long, or if you get your thumb caught on that needle screw, trust me, you haven't broke your machine, but you will scare yourself quite well, because you think you have stitched through your finger, and we don't want that. Once again, just to give you a better visual of what I see, so you can see what I see. Okay, and we'll come right back around over here. Now, normally I wouldn't rotate this. I would try to use my quilting skills, so it would be less rotating, because if you're doing a big quilt, you can't rotate it like this. But given my camera situation here, I'm trying to give you the best visual I can when it comes to seeing how this motif would work. And then let's just bring it back. Go. Such fun. Such fun. Well, if I was finishing this, I would, of course, lift my presser foot, lift my needle, bring it back over once again, and just bring this all to the top so that I can trim it. Oops, there we go. You know, your presser foot has to be up, because that releases those tension discs, so that you can actually, this one pulls easily. That's the one I need to trim. That's the one that's next to my bobbin. And then once again, whatever's coming through my needle. But what a fun and quick border motif. We just quilted, what, 20 inches? This is a fat quarter. So we have done, you know, who knows, that could be half of the top of a quilt that you needed to quilt. And we got it done, and it looks so pretty. And you could always come back in and do your stitch in the ditch too. But this is template quilting. And I'm so excited that I got to share this with you today. The ruler quilt that is going to be virtually every month. We will either complete one of these squares. This is a 14 by 14 inch block, or we will complete, excuse me, a 14 by 20 inch, a rectangle. Now, you could, if you don't want to make the quilt, you can definitely do pillows and placemats. But the medallion is super cool, and it does take 2 sessions. But these are some of the motifs. They're all done with these 3 templates, and such a fun class. Hope that you are inspired to be creative and maybe give template quilting a shot. I'd love to see what you do. And once again, Let me know in the comments what you're working on because I'm always inspired by what other creatives are working on. Bye and have a great week. Hi, this is Linda. I hope you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more creative inspiration. Thanks again for joining me.